Hello again and welcome to the podcast. On this week's show, as you can see, Neil Dans joins me. Neil, first of all, thanks for coming on the podcast. We're going to go look through your career, how it began, what's happening now. I want to take you back to the very start, first of all, starting out with Liverpool as a schoolboy. You know, what was that like for you, being from the area itself as well?
It was absolutely amazing, to be honest with you. I mean, I remember I was about 11 years old and local scouts from Everton came to our school, and if I'm being honest, at that time I just wanted to play football for anyone, and they offered me a trial, and funnily enough I went down to the trial, trained one session and then went home and waited for a letter to come to see if I'd got in. Me stupidly and my dad not knowing it was a 6-week trial. So I just went for one training session and then never ever went back, but I was waiting for a letter. So you could say it might have been a blessing in disguise, because I always thought that they'd rejected me, but like I say, it turned out that it was meant to be a 6-week trial. During that time, Liverpool asked me to come and train, and after the first session, they called me dad and said, we want to sign him straight away. So it was opposites, but the one that worked out really well.
Steven Gerrard, one of your heroes at the time, coming through, obviously himself coming through the academy?
Not at the time, because he was only 2 years older than me. So I used to see him around the academy, and like I say, further on when I went to the national school, sometimes I'd come home to train at Liverpool, because obviously I was away at the national school with the likes of Jermaine Defoe and stuff. And I'd go and train with Steven Gerrard's age group and stuff. So I knew straight away he was going to be a big player, because you could just tell the aura of him, even within his youth team at the time. He was just a massive character.
What sort of players did you play with at your level in the youth team at the time? I imagine there were a few stars in there.
Yeah, definitely. In the youth team, Jonathan Walters, Alex Bruce, Jermaine Defoe, Joe Cole, there was Leon Britton, Stuart Parnaby. There's a list of them. It's, like I say, you'd have your own era that you used to play against, and it was, like I say, it's funny now when you see them, and we're all at similar parts of our career, and it's good to know that you've actually been on a journey with them. Do you know what I mean? Even though you're at different clubs, every year you play against them, every year you see them, and I think it's a little bond that you keep.
You grew up as well, not in the best area possible. How much of a salvation was football for you at the time?
Do you know what? I think when I look back, I don't think I recognise that I was in that. It's like anyone, when you grow up in an area like that, it's normal. Do you know what I mean? So looking back now, there could have been a lot of pitfalls for me, and I've seen bad things happen to people from my area and stuff, but like I say, when I look back, I can never really say anything negative, because my experience was all positive. I think that's probably testament to my parents and my own mental strength, because like I say, I always chose mainly the right choices, and football was a massive influence on that.
After Liverpool, though, you eventually joined Blackburn, another successful team at the time in the Premier League, under a Liverpool legend, Graham Souness, of course. What was that experience like, joining a team like that? It
was a bit bittersweet, if I'm being honest with you, because, like I say, I came out of the FA National School representing England, was classed at the time as one of the best 16 in the country when I was selected to go there and live there for 2 years. And then when I came out, Liverpool offered me a contract, but it was a 3-year scholarship. And there was lads, obviously, who'd been offered professional terms at 17 and stuff. And I was a bit disappointed, because I was the only player at my age to actually get to Leicester from the northwest. All the rest were from the south and stuff like that. So I thought that I would have been offered professional terms on the same. I thought it would have been only fair. So I think that sort of made me mind up when Blackburn came in, because it just showed a little bit more faith. And as much as I'd grown up loving Liverpool and supporting them at that time, I wanted to be a professional footballer, and the faith wasn't sort of shown to me from Liverpool. So I thought, why not? And it was weird to make that decision at such a young age, being 16. But like I say, I don't look back and regret it. I think everything happens for a reason.
And playing for someone like Graham Souness as well.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he was quite an attraction to, especially being in your position, of course.
Yeah,
as well.
definitely. I mean, everyone knows he's an absolute Liverpool legend, and it was him who actually gave me my debut and stuff. So when someone who's held in such prestige like Graham Souness gives you your debut, it can't do nothing but fill you with confidence, and especially to give me my debut. I'd never been in the squad. I was captain of the reserve team, and I remember getting a call saying you're in the squad on Tuesday in the UEFA Cup, and I just thought to myself, whoa, this isn't happening. And I thought I'd just be on the bench at 17, and then on the day of the game, Dean Saunders, who was reserve manager at the time, said, you're starting. And I thought, I've never even been in the squad, to starting, and then to obviously get the draw against CSK Sofia and get man of the match was unbelievable, and just like something, I always knew I wasn't far off because I was captain of reserves, and I was pretty cheeky. I was always saying, when am I going to get a chance and stuff, but then to finally get that chance and get something that you've always, because for me, even when I was in the youth team and I was captain in the FA Youth Cup side to the final and stuff, it just felt like it was never going to happen, and it was always a dream, like it's every boy's dream. And then when that moment comes and you realise, like, I'm actually going to play professional football for a club that's in Europe, it was just unbelievable.
Yeah, talk us through your debut, because, like you said, Blackburn Rovers in Europe, a fantastic time for the club, on the back of the League Cup win the year before.
Yeah.
You know, it's all good things, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
just what was the feeling like when you were going out and you made your debut on that occasion?
It's a day that I'll never forget. It's weird because I remember more the day than the actual game. So I remember the team used to go to a hotel and sleep in the daytime before the game, and I remember just being in the hotel and just thinking, what is going on? Like, I'm starting, like 8 o'clock tonight, I'm going to make my first professional game for a team that's in Europe. And I look around and I see the players like Andy Cole, Damien Duff, David Dunn, do you know what I mean? And absolute players at any time. So then to be put around them and know that faith's being shown in me was something special and something I'll never forget.
Yeah, probably one of the best Blackburn teams ever at that time, wasn't it? Of course, then after that you played in match against Leeds in your league debut as well, which you also won, and I believe you impressed him. What was that like as well, to play your match, you know, in the Premier League?
Yeah, it was crazy. I think they had like Rio Ferdinand, Robbie Fowler. Yeah, they had an absolute brilliant team, and I remember like Robbie Fowler was another hero of mine, and just even seeing players like that, and you're thinking, I'm in the same, like, just being on the pitch with them sort of players. It was just a dream come true, and like I say, for just that whole season for me, like I say, I didn't play many games, but I played in the League Cup, the FA Cup, the European Cup, and the Premier League all in one season. It was just a dream come true.
What does it mean to sort of play Premier League football though? At that stage of your career, did you manage to take it in as well as you could have done? Because it is, you know, a lot of people start out in the lower leagues and then maybe move up, but you started at the very top, of course.
Yeah, no, I definitely didn't, and it's probably one of the regrets that I do have, that I didn't play as more games than I did at Blackburn and in the Premier League, because, like I say, I think it was a different era, because I think, like you say, in my head there wasn't as much football on TV. It was literally match of the day and the highlight show, and that's it. And I think when I look back, sometimes it frustrates me a little bit, because I think I made my debut in Europe, got man of the match, and I think even just that bit of exposure in today's generation, straight away the whole country would be talking, who's that player, who's that, but it sort of went under the radar, because the UEFA Cup was like a Channel 5 highlight show, few clips, do you know what I mean? You didn't really, no one really knew about me, because I remember thinking at the time as well, I might have a chance to start getting selected for England under 19s, because I was only 19 at the time. Like, played in Europe, then played in the Premier League, but like none of even that happened. And I think in today's game, if you're a 19-year-old and you go and get man of the match in Europe, straight away people are like, who's that? So it's frustrating now looking back, but it's all part of, like say, the game evolving, and like say, you can only look back on fond memories. And I've always said that to myself, whatever happens in my career, I've had the chance to do something that people dream of. So I'll always be grateful whatever happens.
The season after, you went out on loan, of course, to Blackpool at the time. What was that experience like for you, playing more week in, week out men's professional football?
Yeah, it was amazing. Like I said, Steve McMahon was the manager at the time. That was a good experience because he was a proper manager in terms of not that Graham Souness wasn't. I mean, it's completely, it just feels different when you're in the lower leagues. It's more aggressive, it's more realistic. It's like the football, do you know what I mean? People kick lumps out of each other in the lower divisions, and like I say, there was no dressed up, do you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, Graham Souness didn't dress much up either. I'd seen him lose his head, but when you're playing regularly, you see it proper. And I also reached fitness levels that I'd never reached before because I was playing regular, and when against men, when you're in a youth team, you never get to them. So I sort of learnt a lot about myself, and it was a really good experience.
Yeah, fiery start as well for you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
2 red cards in your first 2 months playing.
Yeah, it was crazy. I think 2 of them came within like 3 games of each other as well, and one of them, I think they were both double yellows, I think. So it wasn't nothing crazy, but I just remember thinking like, what is going on? I'm suspended for most of my loan. Do you know what I mean? And then, but no, I do look back, and it was a really good learning curve for me.
You mentioned it, but I mean, how important is it for you to, at that stage in your career, to get that game time though, to get the minutes under your belt?
Massive, because straight away then I knew what it took to play in the league basically. And then, like I say, when I went back to Blackburn, I was disappointed because as soon as I went back I got injured, and then, like I say, I was out for I think 2 or 3 months, and during that period Graham Souness left the club and stuff, so a new manager came in. So then it was like, oh, I've done all that hard work to impress, and then there's a new manager coming in, and then, like I say, when I look back, I was just frustrated at that period because, like I say, that injury sort of slowed that down for me.
Yeah, I think I've read, doing my research, at the time when you eventually joined Colchester after a couple more loan spells, that you were frustrated at Blackburn that you didn't get that chance, and you actually came up against them, didn't you, in an FA Cup tie at the time. What was that experience like? Did you want to prove them wrong at the time?
It was crazy because I think it was like 2 weeks after I left, something like that, and I went, like I say, it was the FA Cup, and I did want to prove, but I remember the day before I went to Colchester, like it had all been agreed and stuff, and they played a game in behind closed doors just between the first team, and they were missing a player, so they asked me to come over and train with them. They knew I was leaving, but they just said, do you want to come and play in a game? And I remember playing against the first team, and I had an absolute worldie. I was so buzzing, and I remember walking away off the pitch thinking, oh, please change your mind, and let me stay. But it never came, and like I say, I went on to Colchester, and I remember Colchester offering me a longer deal than I'd signed there, because I went in January and agreed a year and a half to go there, but they offered me longer. But I was confident that I would be moving because that was the self-belief I had. I thought, it's so far away, I'm going to go there for a year and a half, and I'm going to prove to everyone that I can play at a higher level, and thankfully that's what I did.
What was that experience like for you though? Going so far away from home as well, to play and prove people wrong.
Yeah, do you know what? When I look back at my younger self, I'm actually proud of it because I was 19 at the time. Obviously, being a big club, so you get everything's nice and rosy and stuff. And to move, it used to take me 6 hours sometimes to drive up to Colchester. So to move there and basically go there with a mentality of I'm going to prove. I look back at my younger self and think like, good on you.
Yeah, and looking on, good move for you, getting your minutes. You had a fantastic season the year after, 2005, 2006. You really did push on that year, didn't you? Earning promotion and a place in the League One Team of the Year. What was that like for you to have that full season playing and the confidence behind you from the coaching staff as well?
Do you know what? Like I say, I know a lot of people speak about the second season, but like even when I went there in the first season, I think I was there for 6 or 7 months, I scored 12 goals from midfield in that season, but because we were in a relegation battle, it sort of went under the radar. So going into the next season, I felt this is my time now. Like I've just scored 12 goals, I need to kick on. I mean, this is the year that I said that I was going to prove to everyone, do you know what I mean? And that was my mindset. And early on, it sort of went pear-shaped because, I got a stomach injury that kept me out for I think it was 2.5 to 3 months. And when I came back, obviously, because they told me to rest completely because it was my stomach, obviously I put a bit of weight on. So I remember coming back and playing the first game, and the manager, Phil Parkinson at the time, pulled me in and made me watch a video and said of me when I first come and me when and I just didn't. I looked like two different players. Do you know what I mean? One was overweight and one wasn't. Do you know what I mean? So he said, look, I'm going to keep you with me for 3 weeks. We're going to run after training, me and you. I'll do the running with you. And the manager actually did the running sessions with me, kept me out to do extra training, and then, like I say, come back in the team and ended up scoring 16 goals that season.
Shows you the commitment from the manager there as well, doesn't it?
And like I say, I give full respect to Phil Parkinson, and I'll always have nothing but good words to say. Even in the summer just gone, we had a Colchester Legends game versus Southend because we both got promoted that season. So it was both teams, and Phil Parkinson managed the team. That was about 7 or 8 weeks ago, and went down. It was good to see him, and we ended up beating our rivals 5-2. Dan's hat-trick.
Just tell us now about how that move to Birmingham came about as well. Obviously, you proved yourself at Colchester, moving to another big football club in Birmingham. First game against Colchester as well. You know, pressure to impress there, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Once Birmingham came in, it was sort of, I knew anyway, because I saw there was a connection that no one really knew about, that Alex Bruce was in my youth team. He was the year below me, so we played in the same FA Youth Cup team. So his dad always knew me and had seen me, watched me come through the youth. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't like he was just silent. He really liked me as a youngster and stuff. And obviously I went out and proved myself, and then he come in and bought me. And I was, like I say, it was fantastic for me because Birmingham had just got relegated from the Premiership, so they were a big club. They had some big players there. David Dunn was still there, Tiny from Blackburn as well, Martin Taylor, and so I knew people there already. And then, like I say, for me it was a step up. I knew it was going to be hard because, like I said, there was some established players there, and it was just, like I say, it was good to be involved. And I think I made around about 33 appearances that season, starts and sub appearances and stuff, and to be involved in it was back-to-back promotions for me, so it was really good. Was it
a bit bittersweet though, because you were phased out a little bit towards the end of that season? Yeah. What was that about?
That was obviously then at first, obviously we got promoted to the Premiership. I made 33 appearances in the Championship, and then obviously we moved up to the Premiership. A lot of players came in. There was a lot of players in my position, the likes of Sebastian Lawson, Fabrice Mwamba, Olivier Capo. So they were all top players. Do you know what I mean? So it was tough because obviously I wanted my chance to prove again. Do you know what I mean? But it wasn't to happen. And like I say, there was some really good players in front of me. So when I look back now, it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? The manager has their opinions and stuff. And then obviously once Steve Bruce left, Alex McLeish came in and sort of made it clear to me from the start that I wasn't part of his plans. So like I say, for me, it was always just about playing football. So I didn't want to just hang around. So I was on the phone and said, look, I want to go and play football.
Is that part of the reason why you've had so many moves in your career? Is it that desire to play football?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, I'm just one of them that I want to play football all the time. That's why I'm probably still playing at this age now, because I'm still like a kid. I still enjoy the game as much as I did when I was younger. So yeah, that was definitely it. And like I say, the low moves when I was young, I don't really class them as moves because they were more, I was sent out on loans for experience and stuff like that. And I think, like I say, it was mainly probably after the Crystal Palace, then that's when I had a few loans with the likes of Huddersfield and Bristol City and Bolton. And then apart from that, there wasn't too much movement.
You joined Crystal Palace eventually, didn't you, from Birmingham? Yeah. Injuries started to come about at that point. A tough time, that first season for you?
Do you know what? It was the worst season of my life. It wasn't injuries, it was an injury. I basically signed, and then in my first game, I felt me groin, and then I was just like, oh, what is this? Because I just signed, I was like, I didn't really want to say anything, so I tried to train through it, and I knew I wasn't showing what I was capable of because I was playing it. And then in the end, I went to the manager and said, look, my groin's not right. In the end, that groin out ended up keeping me out for nearly 8 or 9 months, do you know what I mean? Because they couldn't find what the problem was. The last resort was to go and have an operation called a groin release, which you don't really want at that age. And I had it, and what's gutting about it is that I had that operation, within 6 weeks I was back and the groin was completely gone. So I was just like, I've just wasted 9 months of my career, you know what I mean? But like I say, no one was to know, and like I say, after once I got fit, then and I could show the manager what I was about. Because I remember Neil Warnock actually saying to me when I came back, I come on at half time in my first game back after nine months of in and out off. And I remember after the game, Neil Warnock saying, "You're not the player that I thought I signed." And he called me in his office and said that to me, and he said, what do you think about that? And he was like, I'm gonna put you on a transfer list because you're not the player I thought we signed. And I said to him, I think it's a bit unfair. I've been out 9 months. That's the first time you've seen me in 9 months. Like, I'm not fit. And then he said, I'm going to put you on the transfer list, but you'll still be involved and around the squad. And so I was like, fair enough. And then the next game he brought me on with 20 minutes to go. And because I'd played, I felt fitter again. So straight away I come on and made an impact. And then after that game, I started every single game under Neil Warnock and ended up being second top goal scorer for the next 2 seasons in the team, and that was from midfield as well. So,
do you think that was part of, looking back, part of the psyche sort of thing? That it's a bit of psychological sort of pressure from Neil Warnock to get you going?
Knowing Neil Warnock, 100%, because I say to this day he's one of the best man managers that I've ever worked with. He doesn't have to do much to get the best out of you. It's weird. Sometimes you ask yourself, how's he doing it? But he obviously knows what he's doing. And like I say, when I look back, even when I left, I look back on that time and I thought, that was great man management, because I had something to prove. And from then on, I never looked back.
Just tell us, if you can, sort of, because he's obviously so well renowned in the game, is Neil Warnock. Just tell us some, if you have any, the best sort of like the cleanish story that you can tell us about Neil in the changing room, for example.
Yeah, I think my one was, we was playing against Doncaster, and we were winning the game 1-0, and then the ball got squared to me. I think I was about 5 yards out, and it took a bobble, like open goal, took a bobble, and I missed the goal completely. And then Doncaster went on to win 2-1. And I remember coming in the change rooms, and he basically blamed the whole game on me because of that chance. And I was thinking, we were 1-0 up, and he stood there with a towel wrapped around him for a few seconds, and not a few seconds, just berating me, saying, "You call yourself a professional footballer? How have you missed that?" And the towel's going everywhere, and I'm just sitting there like, what is going on? You know what I mean? But that's him, and I think I've heard off a few players a similar story of them doing the same thing to others.
Old school.
Old school.
But you did have those few successful years.
Yeah.
Despite obviously financial troubles off the pitch as well. What does it take to perform when things aren't necessarily going right off the pitch?
Yeah, that time was really tough, because I remember we were sitting in 7th position, and we were on the plane to Newcastle to play Newcastle at St James's Park, and we really thought we've got a chance here of making playoffs, because, like I say, we had a good side, a good togetherness. We had a good manager in Neil Warnock, and we were literally on a plane to Newcastle, sitting in 7th position. By the time we got off the plane, we dropped to 17th because the club had went into administration, and it was like, you work so hard. So a lot of players could have given up at that time and thought, and let it affect them. But I class it as one of my biggest achievements. When I watch Crystal Palace now, and I see how far they've come, it makes me proud, because I know I played a part in a season where the club potentially could have went down, and things in their history could have been different. that all the players that played in that team and that fought to the last day of the season to keep Palace in the league. And then obviously that's when Steve Parish took over the season after and is now doing really well. And like I say, when I do look at Palace, I've always got a soft spot for them because their fans to me were absolutely amazing. And like I say, that staying up that year is as good as any promotion I've won.
Eventually left Palace though on a free to join Leicester. Was there any regret from doing that in hindsight? Now, obviously looking to where the club went to under Steve Parish, did you think back and think that was the right move at the time? Because apparently they did offer you a deal, didn't they?
Yeah, they did offer me a deal, and it wasn't so much. I don't look back with any regret because, like you say, if I was playing a team, they might not have got promoted. You never know. Things happen, and what it was at the time is I'd also had interest from Celtic and Rangers, and obviously Leicester as well. And I'd spoke to Ali McCoist on the phone at the time, and I thought that deal was basically done. That's where I thought I'm going to go play there because for me it was a massive club. Rangers, they were playing Champions League football. Celtic were the same, so it was sort of that sort of choice. So I just thought for the next level, I'm going to go over there and play at two potentially huge clubs with massive followings, and that I'd never been to that sort of level with clubs that would get 40,000, 50,000 on a regular basis, and that was my intended destination. And then, like I say, at the very last minute, Sven-Göran Eriksson and Leicester came in for me, and like I've got no shame in saying this, but at the time they offered me a deal that was a lot better than what Rangers were offering, and at that point in my career, I think I was 28 at the time, I just thought I have to sign because I might never get this chance again because what you've got to remember is that at that time as well, I also had two kids. I was 28. I had two kids under the age of 5, and that had to be my first priority at that stage of my career. I knew I only had maybe one big contract left after that. Do you know what I mean? So that was probably the most selfish thing I did in football at that time but it was all in the interest of trying to secure my family, and also Leicester were onto some big things, do you know what I mean, with the new owners coming in and the amount of players they brought in at the time. It was something that also excited me. Yeah,
a lot of ambition at the club, wasn't there? I mean, under Sven, and eventually, obviously, Nigel Pearson took them to the Premier League. You see where they are now, don't you?
Exactly, and that was, like I say, I didn't just go to Leicester for just money. Like I say, all that ambition was shown to me, and I look at Leicester now, and there's still a lot of players that were there when I was there, and like I say, it was that ambition was something that I wanted to be a part of.
You had a mostly successful first year with Leicester. Was sent off against Hull in March, and then that saw you not feature for the team for the rest of the season. Was that has that been a problem for you throughout your career? The combative, side of you, in a position that you're in, you're gonna get yellow cards, red cards.
Yeah, I think if you look at my career, I haven't had that many. The two, like I say, when I was young, was just welcome to League One. I was inexperienced. Do you know what I mean? And then I've had red cards, but I think it's like every player gets red cards in a career, especially in the midfield. Do you know what I mean? It's an area where if you pull out of a challenge, the fans will go mad at you. The manager will go mad at you. So I played wholeheartedly, and that was always a thing that I've always done, and I play with my heart. Do you know what I mean? So whenever I'm going to go into challenge, I'm not going to hurt people. It's just that I'm going to win the ball and stuff. And like I say, that first season at Leicester, I ended up with the captain's armband for the second half of the season. So it was so weird for me at the time because I remember finishing the season, and at the beginning of the season I didn't play as much when I first signed, and then the second half I played nearly every game and was wearing the armband for the last half, and I ended up with 6 goals that season. And then we came back for pre-season, and I never, after having a good season, I think I never started a game. So
did you ever get a reason for that, or was it that red card that?
No, it definitely wasn't the red card because, like I say, me and the manager were fine. Like I say, it wasn't like a crazy red card or anything. It was basically like I'd come back thinking, oh yes, I'm going to have a good season. I've just ended the season as captain. I scored 6 goals in probably 23, 24 starts. So I was all excited for the comeback, and then I come back and found it weird that I just didn't start. I didn't start a league game, and I was like, I went and seen the manager, and I don't know what the reasons was, but he said he loved me as a player, but it's for reasons out of his hands. So whether that meant he wanted to trim the squad down, and obviously there was players on more money than others and stuff, whether that was a part of that trimming, I'll never know. Do you know what I mean? So
you eventually, went out on a few loan moves, didn't you? Again, is that difficult at that stage in your career to do that? Because obviously, like you said, you've got your family, you're all settled, and then you're having to move around the country to go to different football clubs.
Yeah, it was difficult.
And of course, there's no certainty as well, is there?
Exactly. And like I say, I went to Huddersfield. Obviously, went there, and we ended up. I think we stayed up that season on the last day of the season. I had a good time at Huddersfield, and then I went to Bristol City. Derek McInnes, Aberdeen manager, wanted to sign me after the loan, but I just felt it was too far for me to move. Obviously, with having a young family, because when I went there, I was basically living in a hotel room, and like I was doing well on the pitch, but I couldn't hack living in a hotel room, and my kids were in school and stuff, so I didn't want to move them because they were settled. So that was the main reason why I didn't end up signing permanently for Bristol City. And then the opportunity came to sign for Bolton, and obviously that was my old manager at Palace, Dougie Friedman. So that was just a no-brainer. And then obviously to go there, and like I made it because I think they were struggling at the time, Bolton, and I knew a lot of players there. And when I went there to make an impact, in the first part of the loan, I was so happy because I thought this could get me a permanent move. It's half an hour away from home. It's everything that I want now at this point in my career. I want my family to be settled, and I just want to enjoy football. So it came at the perfect time.
And like you say, you eventually got that permanent deal. A tough spell for the club, though, again, financially as well. How difficult a period was that for the squad and the club itself?
Very difficult. Like I say, it's never easy when you're in them positions, and like I say, there's always uncertainty. Is the club going to survive? Who's going to be the next owners and stuff like that? But like I say, it was one that I'd been in before, so I sort of used my experience to just tell people to just focus on what we can affect and stuff like that. And like I say, it was a very hard time, but especially in today's football now, you're seeing it more and more. And it's, for me, the advice I'd always give is just focus on what you can affect, because the off the pitch stuff, we can't affect that. And that was what I did with my time at Bolton.
And then you eventually joined Bury after that.
Yeah.
Tough first year for you there as well. What was it that didn't work out originally for you?
I broke my foot in the first game.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah, so that was mainly it. I had a great pre-season. The second game it was. First game, scored the winner against Charlton on the opening day of the season. Felt like really good. I was looking forward to the season. Then we played away against Coventry. I broke my left foot, and basically I was out for like 2.5 months. At the time, the team then went through a bit of a sticky patch, and the manager asked me to come back. I couldn't even turn. Like literally, I ended up struggling with that injury for over a year because I come back way too early and just never settled. But the person I am, I always try and play through an injury. Do you know what I mean? So I'd always try and, I can do it, playing through pain, knowing that I'm not doing my best, but I'm on the pitch and stuff. And that was it basically. So the first half of the season was basically a write-off. Like I said, the injury, then playing with basically an unhealed foot, and then in the end it got to the point where obviously I asked could I be out the team because I needed to rest up, and then I rested up, and then in the January Blackpool came in, and I'd already been told by I think it was then in charge Chris Brass. He said he didn't see me playing again for Bury, so I just said, okay, but fair enough. So I went out to Blackpool and then ended up getting promoted that season.
Yeah, and then you did get your chance at Bury properly, didn't you?
Yeah.
Just tell us the togetherness in the squad. How important was that last season when we saw again there's some difficulties off the pitch, that obviously well documented, but the team itself was very impressive.
Yeah, the team was full of talent. A team that I'll put down on record, say it was way too good a team to be in that league. I think, like you say, the season before there was, like, for me, I have to be honest, open and honest at the time. I think, and this is no disrespect to Lee Clark or anything, but I think just when he did come in, he brought in a lot of players, but that just wasn't, it didn't fit right, sort of thing, and he cast a few of us out early parts, and like I say, that for me, I speak about this because this is a massive part of my career. I remember coming into training on the first day after being promoted with Blackpool and a new manager, so for a fresh start, and then on the second day I was told I wasn't allowed to train with the team, and after the first day of pre-season, like, first day I was on fire, the lads were saying you look fit, you look sharp, so I was buzzing, and then the second day being told that basically don't come in the club again. And this is why I speak about this, because I think this is a story that a lot of people might not know about footballers, when, like, these times where they are dark times. And I remember being told not to come into training, and I refused that. I said I'm going to come in, but I'm just going to stay in the gym, because they didn't want me around the team. And a lot of the lads were like, what's gone on with you? I was like, because, like I say, I'm always respectful. I've never been, if you speak to anyone about me, I'm always respectful to people. I'm never a problem and stuff. And then I was literally, for 3 months, I didn't train. So I was literally just coming in the gym every day by myself, saying hello to the lads. They'd go outside, I'd have to stay in the gym. I had no one to talk to. And then obviously, eventually, Lee Clark phoned me on a Tuesday, and the team was in a bit of real trouble at the time, and then phoned me on a Saturday and said, do you want to play on Tuesday? And I hadn't played a game for 3 months, but I just said, yeah, I'll play. Like, that's all. I played, did well in the game, and then the next game came on a half-time chant, and then started the game after, and then did me hamstring because I hadn't had a pre-season, obviously. But that was probably one of the best experience in football for me, because it opened my eyes to a lot of things in football. And like I say, it also showed me my own mental strength, because, like I say, I just thought, no, this is going to fuel me rather than take the easy way out. I'm going to prove to people that I can get in this team, sort of thing. And then, like I say, I ended up getting in a team, obviously, after Lee Clark had left. Ryan Lowe took over towards the end of the season, and I got in the team, and then ended up winning Player of the Season. And that, for me, is the biggest accomplishment of my career, because it was a time where I should have been down and out. Basically, I'd been offered to team. I remember Solihull phoning me saying the club had told them to phone me to go and play part-time football, and I only had to drive up on a Tuesday and play and stuff. And I just remember thinking, no, like this, I'm not going to be thwarted. I'm going to prove to people. And then, like I say, push on 3-4 months later, and I ended up picking up Player of the Season after making 20 appearances. And that was, for me, just a vindication of my own personality and my own strength. And I say to all the young lads now, the game is about opinions. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter what people thinking about you. They have the right to their opinion, but it's just you have to change their opinions. And that's what happened with the Bury fans. The Bury fans, when I first went, because I came from Bolton, then I was playing with injury, so I didn't show what it was. They were on my back bad time, and like say, every time I touched the ball, they'd be booing. They'd be like, and I was thinking, I need to prove to these. And then to get to this point now, where, like I say, to captain the club last season to promotion and have a real good rapport with the fans has been, like I say, amazing.
And just you've talked about it there, and you've talked about it a lot throughout the interview, having to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
How difficult is like, it's easy to say, isn't it, having to to prove people wrong, but actually doing it and and performing is something completely different.
Yeah, well, I say all the time, it just takes hard work. And
does it come from your background a little bit as well?
I'd say so, yeah. I think obviously, like you touched on, I didn't come from an area with privileges. Like say, you had to work hard to get your chances and stuff, and it probably is inbred in me. And I think you see that with a lot of Liverpool athletes. It's like say, it's a working man's city. Do you know what I mean? From the docks, we've got that grind and motivation built within us. And I think you look at the likes of Steven Gerrard, he just oozes it. Do you know what I mean? He's just willing to run through brick walls and stuff. And I think, like you say, that probably is inbred, and not to give up. And like I say, there's been loads of times where people have doubted, and people all say, oh, and you moved here and you moved there. But when I look back and think, I've played in League Two, 2 years of a 20-year career. The rest of it has all been League One and above, and I think I'm on 100 career goals now. That's obviously with international ones. So I just look back and I think, well, you haven't done too bad for a lad who came from Toxteth in Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I take with me now all the time. I say I could never get bitter at the game or regret, because look what the game's given me. Do you know what I mean? And I feel privileged and blessed to have been able to live my dream. And so I could never, ever, ever be bitter or sad, but I'll always just tell the stories, because if anyone listens to them or in them times where it might be going like that for them, then I think it's vital that the older generations always pass on their experiences.
And of course, another person to come from, another Scouser is Ryan Law, who was in charge last season. Just tell us about him and how important he was as part of that promotion winning side under difficult circumstances himself, but managed to galvanise you to earn that promotion.
Yeah, he was massive, like huge. Like I say, I've got utmost respect for the gaffer. I still call him the gaffer, because like I say, even when I was in my time, when he took over, he was the person that said to me, look, you're going to play for me. And he gave me that belief and then made me captain. And like I'll always be indifferent for that. And like I say, I don't just class him as an old gaffer, I class him as a friend. Do you know what I mean? And like I say, I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, and he said if there's anything I ever need or wish me luck, and I offered the same back to him. And what he did at that club for me was unbelievable, because you went from one season to everything going as wrong as they could. The squad wasn't in a great place in terms of togetherness. There was a real bad flavour around the place on that relegation season, and then to turn it all round within literally one summer in your first full season of management, for me is something that just can't be laughed at. It's something that for me shows that he's got a real bright future in the game. And like I say, he brought in the right characters. The training was good. The lads knew that if there was ever any problems, you could go in and speak to him. And like I say, he was a real man manager, and all the best managers that I've worked with have always had that, where the players aren't afraid to speak to them and the players can talk to them about anything, and he's definitely one of them. And
of course, he's now joined Plymouth. Was there any? He's taken a lot of players with him from Bury. Has there been any interest in taking you down there as well? And would that be of interest to you, or is it the family thing at this stage?
I think he understands where I'm at. Like I say, he knows me inside out. Do you know what I mean? And I think he understands that at this point in my game, my little boy plays for Liverpool and stuff. So for me to move anywhere, which like I say, I like to take a real keen eye. I go to all the training sessions, all his games and stuff like that. So it just wouldn't work for me. Do you know what I mean? My other two kids, my little girl, she's into music. My other little boy plays football. And like I say, for me at this age now, the main importance of life in general is just that my kids are happy, and I know they're happy when I'm there and I'm doing stuff with them. So sometimes that's the time where maybe, like say, in the future when they grow up a bit, then I will move away, and like say, things happen in life and stuff. But at this moment in time, I just feel I need to be around my children, and that's one of the reasons I think the gaffer would know instantly before even talking about that.
I want to go on to now to talk about in terms of your family and sort of your where you've come from. We talked about your dad as well. Going into his professional skateboarding career. Can you just tell us about that and how his influence has been passed down onto you as well? Because obviously being a professional sportsman takes dedication.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from a young age, obviously, I witnessed my dad practice and going to skate competitions all the time. I used to go along with him all the time. Like, funny enough, like I was more interested. I was on a skateboard before I ever kicked the ball. So I was literally. I wanted to be a skateboarder. Obviously, my dad was one, so I'd be on the ramps with him and stuff. And then, like I say, one day I started playing football, and then it just took me away from skateboarding. But no, to see him achieve, obviously, at the time I didn't know that it was rubbing off on me. But to see him putting in the work and the dedication can only rub off on me. And it's like even with the music now, people are like, where'd you get the music? And I'm like, well, obviously my dad was the same. He was doing his skateboarding, but then also being a backing dancer in the Eurovision Song Contest. So, eccentric.
Some great stories to tell.
Great stories.
Yeah, and just tell us about the music for you as well, and what that means to you. Just tell us how you first, got interested in it. Obviously from your dad, but I mean, just tell us where that's going for you now.
Yeah, obviously I've always been. I mean, if you go back to even the Palace days, I did a few interviews on TV and stuff talking about my music and playing guitar and stuff, but that was always just a hobby then. The last 2 or 3 years is something that it's always something I've been passionate about. So obviously I play a bit of piano, play guitar, so I thought, well, why not? I'm at a stage where I've been privileged enough to have the time on my hands to put in work and stuff, so I took it upon myself to start doing audio engineering course, production course, and like I say, at this moment in time, I just literally, it's a hobby still because football always takes, but I realised that football is not forever, and music is something that you can do in your spare time. So I'm not claiming that I'm going to be the next big pop star, or because I'd never want to be an artist now. Everything I'd want to do in music is just behind the scenes, production, songwriting and stuff like that. Now all that you can do in your spare time. So, and that's one of the things I do use it for, is sometimes you need time to switch off from the kids, from football, from the missus, do you know what I mean? So I use that time then to just go and do my music.
And the kids, of course, now, we're following in your footsteps as well, like you mentioned earlier. What's that like, being a father and seeing your kids do well like that? It's
unbelievable. It's the biggest, it's the thing that gives me the most satisfaction, like I say. When I see them just doing things that they love, but not just doing it, but just putting effort in. Because I always say to them, like, my kids could never ever disappoint me, do you know what I mean? Because they're my kids. And I just say to them, the one thing I always want you to do is just whatever you choose to do, just work hard at it. I say there's always people more talented than you. There's always people that might have better privileges, but just work hard at what you do, and it'll get you to the best you can be. And that's always my advice to them.
Going on now to, I want to talk about your international career now. Yeah. And playing with Guyana. Just first of all, tell us how that all first came about for you. Obviously, not got a connection in a way of like being in Guyana, consistent or growing up in Guyana or anything like that, and but it's something that seems to be very important to you from what I've seen. Yeah,
100%. It's massive for me. One of the reasons being that my grandfather was from Guyana. Now, my grandfather passed away when my dad was young, so I never got a chance to meet him. So I never really got the connection or the stories, or didn't really know anything about the culture, if I'm being honest, because my dad was born in England as well. So I never really knew what Guyana's about. I'd never visited the country. I'd always just knew that my grandfather was from there. So when the opportunity came along at a time in my career where I just thought, why not? Because I don't know that side of me, you know what I mean? And I thought, you live once, why not go and experience it? Because if I didn't do that, then when would be the next time I'd ever go to Guyana? And this is a great opportunity. So I went over there, and it was just a massive eye-opener. I mean, just even seeing it's just the love for football over there, And the kids, when you see, the kids don't have the opportunities that we have in England and big European countries in soccer and sports and that. And like I say, they're not as privileged as just in everyday life. So just to see the happiness that it just bring the local players and stuff like that was something that I thought we take for granted over here, because these football pitches everywhere, these footballs everywhere, you can go in leagues and stuff, whereas over there it's not like that. So
yeah, cricket's the big sport.
Yeah, cricket's the big major sport over there. So just to go over there and be able to represent that, and also find a bit of myself. Like say, I met family over there that I'd never met before, and I seen places that my grandfather was from and stuff like that. And to think that part of me came from that specific area, do you know what I mean? And it was, like I say, a real good experience.
Just tell us as well, I spoke to Michael Johnson, who's obviously the Guyana manager and ex-Derby County player, etc. He said the importance of it can't be, you can't wait up yet in terms of getting to the Gold Cup, of course, which you qualified for. Yeah. Just tell us about that experience of inspiring that many people in the country when you did represent Guyana in the Gold Cup after you qualified.
Like I say, I don't even think it's sunk into me yet, because obviously we haven't had the chance to visit Guyana yet since the Gold Cup. So I think the next meet-up is in September. But just the videos and the messages and everything is just like the amount of support and people sending me messages saying like how I've inspired them and the next generation of kids, and how all the boys who were involved in that have just made the country so proud. It's something that I've never experienced, because it's one thing making a club and the fans proud, but when you're actually making a nation and you're actually making history, it's something, like I say, that is probably too big for me at the moment to actually fully grasp. But I'm sure like in the coming years, and like say seeing the benefits of the future things that it does for for Guyanese people and the kids there, then I'll be able to look back and say like I played my part in that.
Yeah, inspiring a generation is a good thing, isn't it? If you think about it.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like I say, I remember even after I scored that goal, the first goal, I remember coming off and everyone going nuts on Twitter and stuff, and I was like, why is people going like? And I was like, it's the first goal in history. And then I didn't even think, when I was taking that penalty, I didn't think of that. It never came to me that. So I'm so thankful that I didn't know, because that would have been extra, more pressure, more pressure. But like I say, then to obviously to score that goal and become part of Guyana history is just something that, like I say, I'll never be able to feel what it is, because the way I look at it is that like in 20, 30 years time, people will still remember that moment, and that to me is just, it doesn't feel real.
At this stage of your career as well, it's incredible, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
And if we look at your football career as a whole, if you could tell us the best story of your footballing career, that again on sort of like the Neil Warnock lines, not the dirtiest of stories. Obviously, it's a family podcast. If you could tell us something that's clean that's sort of sticks with you.
They make it real. Let's see. You know what? I probably will never be able to get that vision of Neil Warnock swinging his towel around, screaming, "How are you a professional footballer?" So I'll have to go for that one, because that will live with me forever.
You have to see there to believe it, of course. Yeah. Finally, just looking at the season ahead for you now, you still want to play professional football, still want to play for Bury after obviously such a difficult off-season for the club. Yeah. What will it mean for you to represent Bury in League One next season and to prove people wrong again, which you've consistently done, or you said you've consistently done throughout your career, having to try and prove people wrong? Is that the motivation for you now next season?
Like I say, hopefully Bury can get everything sorted, and like I said, I've always said, if there's a contract offer there, then I'll be privileged to sign again, and I know it's going to be tough circumstances, obviously, with a 12-point deduction from the beginning, but like you just said then, my whole career has been challenges and I thrive on them, so why not get one last achievement and then see what happens.
What would it mean to you if you did sign for Bury and then kept the club up in League One after all the turmoil that we've seen?
It'd be unbelievable, and like I say, if I could have a hand in that, then who knows, that might be the time that I do cross over to coaching. Do you know what I mean? Like I say, I'll never say that it will or won't be, but I think maybe after something, if that was achieved, then it might be the right time, depending on how the body feels. But no, if I get that opportunity to represent Bury again, I think one thing for sure the Bury fans will know of me is that they'll get everything that I've got to give and that's left in the tank, and hopefully that'll be enough.
Well, Neil, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you on the official EFL podcast. Good luck for the rest of the season, what it may hold for you, and good luck in whatever path you choose to go down in the rest of your career, whether that is through your music or through football. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks,
appreciate it.